Drake's this beta masculinity performance that he's been involved in, go on Aiden Ross, XQC, I think is the other one, like go on these streamer spaces.
He could have literally been quiet for 2 seconds, come out with an album with no features that was good, like sat down for a year. Like if he had taken the time off that he's been blowing, it could have been cool. But every 7 business days, he decides to do something that I'm like, why?
But the thing that really is at the core of the Kendrick Lamar beef is that you are not really black enough.
He didn't come out on top. Not only that, it changed the way people have perceived him.
This is an era where Drake does not immediately dominate everything. He has to fundamentally shift his whole sonic structure in order to just randomly just go into the studio, punch in, and then a hit.
He's had this fragile ego since he was getting rejected by Rihanna, but being rejected by this black male rapper that he really wants to be like and be in his club, he's a loser.
Today's sponsor is Aura. If you haven't been taking precautions with your personal information online before today is the day to start, because you've never been more vulnerable online than you are right now. 2024 saw a number of high-profile data breaches, raising serious concerns about personal information security. Dell had a breach. United Healthcare had a breach. Even Ticketmaster had a breach. Millions and millions of people had their data leaked. United Healthcare's breach was literally the largest ever healthcare data breach in the United States. Hackers have stolen over 2.9 billion records from national public data, which offers personal information to employers, private investigators, staffing agencies, and others doing background checks. These stolen records include a person's full name, address, date of birth, social security number, and phone number, along with alternate names and birth dates. And members of the hacker group have reportedly released this information online for free. That's why you need to use Aura. Aura alerts me if they find my phone number, email, or social security number on the dark web. They're going to let me know as soon as possible if anyone tries to use this information to access my credit or bank accounts. They give me up to $5 million in identity theft insurance should the worst case scenario happen. They also provide a bunch of other features to keep you safe online, all inside one app. You do not have to live like this and be vulnerable to hackers. Instead, you can go to my link, aura.com/Illuminati, to try 14 days for free. That's all the time Aura needs to find out if any of your personal data is exposed. I highly recommend you do this right now. So again, go to aura.com/Illuminati to start protecting your information, or click the link in the description below. Thank you for sponsoring this video, Aura. Hello, beautiful Black people.
Hey, hey.
Hello.
Hello.
We gather here today to talk about what I actually legitimately think is the worst L ever taken in rap beef history. Like I really think that. I don't think I'm being hyperbolic at all. And it actually pains me to see Drake so catastrophically mishandle something at every turn. Like I cannot believe it. Like I want you to know, when he did the lawsuit, I couldn't even comment on it. My mind was so blown. I was so hurt and shattered by Drake. Like, why do you? I was like, you want to leave no stone unturned on returning from this, on coming back from this? And then yesterday, when they reported that he withdrew the lawsuit, I was like, Jesus Christ, you did all that. You done took the L, now you withdrawing it. And I thought, if you thought that was as bad as it could get, then they say, oh no, he withdrew that lawsuit because he's intending to file a bigger lawsuit for defamation. I said, oh my God. Oh my God.
I'm embarrassed.
I'm actually like, I feel like Drake continuing to take these L's sets the whole year up for strife. Like I honestly, I swear to God, like I saw people, I genuinely don't know where I turned around and I started really worrying about letting Cat Williams do interviews this year. Like I was scared. And then when Drake, I said, oh my God, you're not please let the year, like, let me feel like it's a new year. Why, Drake?
Cat Williams' interview with Shannon Sharp is like the new Harambe meme. And that like everything changed and we're in a different timeline based on that. It really is weird. Yeah. Like Cat Williams it was a meme how like off Cat Williams was several years ago. I haven't enjoyed any of his comedy much. And I have like a low like barrier for enjoying stand-up comedy. You just got to be funnier than Kevin Hart, right?
Don't do Kevin
It's
like
slow.
don't do
that's
Kevin.
slow.
Kevin's early stand-ups was y'all don't do Kevin.
We're not gonna
I'm just saying, I've never been a huge Kevin Hart fan, but I could watch his stuff and like finish it. So like if you can get above that,
I'm a grown little man. Like what now? Laugh at my pain. Those are funny.
Those are funny.
So long ago. You see how far you're going?
It don't matter. He did it.
Either way, Cat has not reached that bar in several years.
No, he hasn't.
Gives us some solace. I also think like everything you're saying, Olay, about like Drake's trajectory is like very in line with like honestly who he's hanging out with. He's hanging out with people who just don't ever take. You know, it's kind of funny. This is like the exact opposite. Like there was a time like probably like 5 or 6 years back where they thought he had dissed Eminem, and like I think this was like right after like or a little bit right before the Eminem sent Machine Gun Kelly into the ether. But he immediately apologized and was like all like reverent. Like now he's on this where like I think he won one really famous beef with Meek Mill and then slightly won against Common, but then has lost 2 back-to-back. Pun intended.
And is acting like nothing ever happened.
Like none of that ever happened. And like I don't get the lawsuit part of it is crazy to me because it's not only like not only from like a rap perspective is it like it looks really bad, right? Because a majority of Drake's street cred for battling came from him hanging out with people like Disaster and actual battle rappers. And that's what he put on his shoulders, like, oh, I know this culture. But not only is it a complete like about face about that, it's just a lawsuit that you're not gonna like from a legal perspective. It's just stupid to do that.
Yeah.
And like from a business perspective, Spotify and these companies control streaming right now. And I understand that like, yeah, Spotify, they're shitty and they screw artists like me and other people like that. But you know, like the way you're doing it is so bad, and it's gonna backfire on you. It's already backfiring on him, you know.
Olay, can you give us a legal perspective somewhat? I know that's not your area, but like, isn't defamation super hard to prove?
The defamation lawsuit is definitely garbage. Like the other one, I felt like there were, you know, like an entertainment lawyer would have been better suited to discuss like, you know, the ins and outs and where like he could add a claim just in terms of the public perception, like what you want, like that lawsuit was not worth it. Even if it had legs legally in terms of what Drake wanted, it's just not a good idea. But the defamation defamation is such an incredibly high bar in general if you're a public figure, right? Like you have to show one that it's a lie and that it's with malice, right? And in this case, I'm like, what are you? First of all, you entered, this isn't some kind of like, oh, he's out here lying on you or whatever in the world. Y'all are engaged in like, what is a part of y'all's career? Like an act of like, y'all are engaged in your profession. Y'all are doing, you know, work. You are going back and forth with him too. And you're also saying whatever have you about him. Like you can't say it. And then also the things that Kendrick is saying about Drake, like regardless of what you think is personally true or how true you think it is, as far as there being a world, thousands of people, if not millions of people that have heard about Drake with underage women, like ones we know, like celebrities who we know, like whether or not how serious you think the offense is, we know for a fact, or we like at least it's already public perception or public knowledge, like already in the public domain that Drake is made out with gals like who was 16, 17, whatever have you. So there's no way you're gonna make that claim that Kendrick like with malice lied on you and he's the one who like damaged your reputation and stuff. There have been videos, you know what I mean? Video essays, tweets, stuff all over the internet for many years about Drake with younger women. There have been SZA and them themselves, Georgia and them telling their own life story. You know what I mean? So it's a terrible, you're not going to win it. You spend a bunch of money, you're not going to win it. And you're causing irreparable harm to your career. Like I genuinely think Drake has caused himself irreparable harm. Like, I'm like, oh, this is like, because he's made everything so like everything Kendrick has said about him, or that, you know, you lost as an indictment of your character and all of this in the rap beef has now made it like oh, you're an egregious extreme of what Kendrick is saying. Like to the people who are just like enjoying the music, who didn't really care so much what they're saying, but they heard the accusations, it's like, oh damn, look at you. He said you were this, and you are like that. You fundamentally you disrespect the culture in this music and all of this, and you turn around and you sue in the rap beef because you lost. You sue. And to say Not Like Us was artificially inflated when it was a bop of epic proportion.
Yeah, I feel like the lawsuit really isn't about Kendrick. It really isn't even about UMG. I think it is like a warning shot that if Fox or the NFL allow for Kendrick to sing that song on the stage at the Super Bowl, that he's gonna sue them, right? And so like it's I think it's designed to kind of like scare people into compliance and say like, don't let him sing the song or perform the song, otherwise I'm coming after y'all. And that's also the lamest possible thing he could do. To be honest with you,
Fox is not going to be. Fox is not going to be like, oh, Drake. Fox is a multi-billion-dollar corporation. Now, and they have Mickey Mouse backing them now. So who the fuck is going to care about Drake?
I forgot that Disney bought Fox.
Like 2-bit lawsuit. Also, very quickly, is he suing? Because this is the first I heard about after he withdrew the lawsuit, about a second lawsuit about defamation. Wait, so is he withdrawing? Withdrawing in my vocabulary. Is he suing UMG or is he suing Kendrick for the defamation?
No, he's not suing Kendrick. He sued everybody but Kendrick. Like everybody but Kendrick.
He's so serious.
Yeah, but no, he's suing UM. So TMZ reports that Drake has filed a new defamation case this morning against Universal Music Group in federal court for spreading the false and malicious narrative that he's a pedophile.
He starts the brief with a quote from Lucien, and then talking about how there was a shooting at his house right after the song dropped, and trying to conflate the two.
He should leave. Honestly, I think Drake is making
about this. By the way, like, there's a literal. Like, because this is under the same. This is how Larry Flint. Like, you guys ever heard that movie?
Oh wow, yeah.
So like, pretty much, Larry Flint had this giant lawsuit, where he said that Jerry Falwell fucked his mother in an outhouse, and they put this thing in Hustler, and Jerry Falwell, who was like super litigious and would just burn people to the ground with lawsuits, sued him, and lost at the Supreme Court level because they were like, you can make fun of, like, it's under free speech, it's a unanimous decision, you can make fun of whoever you want because it's like, without it, satire would not exist, right? So like, not only is it like a frivolous lawsuit,
this would have irreparable damage on hip hop if this was to ever like get legs, because it basically opened up every rapper ever to say something negative about another rapper and to be sued for.
I want a big and every one of my songs, bro. That's weird.
I saw someone had to take this. This is like the actor that played Joffrey off of Game of Thrones suing George R.R. Martin. You know what I'm saying? And it's like,
I don't know about them thrones, so I can't even keep.
The thing about tort law, like, it's like you always look at the reasonable like the standard of the industry. Like, this is rap beef. Like, it explicitly is what it is. You know what I mean? And like, Drake is also like throwing back a bunch of things too. Like, Drake was putting out his own song saying that Kendrick beat his wife and that's what the case is and that they're not together. And all
it isn't really his.
On that, like, too.
It's hypocritical.
Because
and I just think like Drake is making matters so much worse, like by specifically honing in on the pedophile thing. Like, Kendrick said 1,096 indictments of his character. It wasn't just that. And Kendrick not the first one. You know what I mean? Kendrick just said it very loud to a very catchy beat, right? Like, but Drake, I don't know why he keeps drawing more attention to something that there's bad receipts for him. I'm like, you should just move on. Like, every other person, every other black man, every other man in rap to be accused of something like terrible. You just move on. You never acknowledge it again.
You had Diddy pretty much take the whole space over for anybody someone hates, and you're like, no, not Diddy, me right now.
Drake is here. Drake Drake is being very, very hypocritical from just this whole play out. So it is, to me, some people want to talk about that it isn't a loss. I view it as a big loss because you being Drake, have built your whole career off of throwing jabs and subliminals, literally. And then I think that this whole idea of giving, like you were saying, FD, the, hip hop, some kind of, if it gets legs, some kind of idea that you can sue your way out of like a rap beef. And I feel like that's problematic because we know rap just goes in like that. You can literally just disrespect people nasty, talk about having sex with your mama, all kinds of things in a whole rap beef and move forward, live your life. Sometimes people kill that, live their life, marry beautiful women, have children, and think that it's never going to catch up with them if what they're saying in the subliminals are true. But Drake, for me, he's just somebody who's very fragile. It just shows us that he's always been a character. He's always been acting, and it's been great. Love his music. Still listen to it when I work out. I'm still there with it. But to see him going out this way, he thought that this wasn't. He didn't think. I feel like he underestimated Kendrick, and that was the biggest problem there. And now, because he thought that this was going to be the biggest year, or the end of last year was going to be the biggest year for him with that beef, and it turned to be like Kendrick's year. And now
we cannot understand.
It is the black nerd era.
Every
right
time
now.
I be like, as a nigga, I've said this, right? I obviously was with y'all and continue to be in kicking Drake's back when it comes to this beef, right? But I have maintained like I am a Drake music fan, right? And always have been. And every time I listen to Drake now, like when me and CJ listen to Drake and like love Drake's music, like old Drake music, right? And then I hear FD in the background, like in my brain talking shit, like any niggas who really fuck with Drake, like you're bad people. And I'd be like, yo, I would hate this,
bro. FD, like it's like an angel and devil.
It's crazy how the trying to ruin your people.
It's like an angel and devil appear on Olay's shoulder. Like FD is the angel and Tahoe is the devil, and they're both like trying to influence.
It's honestly so funny when you know a shit ton of creators on the internet, and like when you think about it, like it's a few creators that lead discourses on things, right? And when you know the creators personally who ruining your favorite artist's day, you be like, oh my God, shut the fuck up.
That Drake is boring thing has went viral multiple times. I've had big videos, but nothing that's like spread like a TikTok, a minute thing that people that have no clue who I am. So I've gotten a lot of weird comments from that as well. But I wanted to, Rebecca said something that reminds me of a take. I got to shout out my brother, Matt Clear, who's literally my brother and a musician. Check him out on Spotify. He texted me during all of this, and you talked about Drake's fragility. So, and I'm probably going to end up doing something explicit around this about like Drake's new, I hate to use the term, but it's the best way I could think of this beta masculinity performance that he's been involved in ever since this went down. In that when you look at who Drake has really aimed himself at for years now, but especially post-battle. At post-battle, what have you seen Drake do? Go on Aiden Ross, go on, is it Asmund Gold? Or what's the other one?
Yes.
XQC, I think is the other one. Like go on these streamer spaces, and you look at like what hurt him the most. My brother broke it down. He was like, there's basically like three groups of in this equation. There's people like Kendrick who are not like by nature. Again, this is not, please don't get in your gender scholarship bag as I break this down and call me out too tough. I know. But so you have Kendrick, who's kind of in this like own lane that a lot of men are in, where it's like, I'm not going to be the top of the food chain as masculine performance is going to be, but I'm kind of happy where I am. And I feel free by the distance between me and this like super high performance of masculinity, because I recognize how much pressure and sacrifice that takes. And then you have those real people like a LeBron James, dudes that are literally just born and built different. And like, there was no thing in the world that was going to change the fact that a LeBron James or maybe even a Diddy or Jay-Z was going to be in the type of positions they're in, for better and for worse. And then you have like dudes that aspire to that, but really don't have what it takes. And so all they do is imitate and court favor from those types of guys. So you have people like Drake, like the Aiden Ross sniffed Andrew Tate's ass or something on stream. No, not ass. It was something weird.
Like his chair when he stood up.
Down that. Yeah, Aiden Ross is a very I remember like when I was working for Philip DeFranco, I had a bar about Aiden Ross, and then they just showed the guy put a picture of Aiden Ross surrounded by Andrew Tate's like it's a casting couch meme. It is not.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's and like the gambling stuff. Like, so it's all this really like marketing. I have a way of putting it, marketing to losers. I feel like that take has been viral multiple times because I was cooking with that shit. Drake is great for marketing to losers because other losers like Drake think that Drake looks like a winner because he's managed to overcome his naturally loser dork ways and imitate this truly high performance of masculinity, which is why he has a LeBron James tattoo. Like, when I found that out, I'm glad I didn't know that before I made my video.
I think you're 1000% right. I think you're 1000% right, FT, and I get even why it's happening, right? Like why he's choosing to try to court them, or why, because he's always like, by nature of Drake's level of pop artist, he's always been trying to like court white people and care about them and like those kind of groups, right? So it like makes sense on one level, but on the other hand, for Drake to be as obviously bothered as he is, like you feel some like type of way about how the Black community is feeling about you and what the reception is, and you're trying like you're mad as about it. You have not stopped. You know what I mean on that? I don't understand why he's choosing to go about things in a way that's so obviously not going to be helpful to changing that, when I don't think Black people are that hard to change in this particular.
We're so forgiving of with bad women problems.
I was like, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, this is the most they fighting to this day to listen to R. Kelly. Like, you know what I mean? Like, worse things are ignored all the time. And Nelly got rape cases. Celebrating Nelly and Ashanti right now. Like, no, people let shit go. All the whole shade room is just full of not giving a f. I saw them posting new Trey Songz music the other day. Like, all he had to do is like, every time I look, I was like, I feel like for you to be this bothered, he could have literally been quiet for 2 seconds, come out with an album with no features that was good, like sat down for a year. Like, if he had taken the time off that he's been blowing, it's already been a year essentially since this shit happened. He could have come back out and everything could have been cool. But every 7 business days, he decides to do something. I'm like, why?
I knew shit was gonna get weird when he sung the Beyonce on stage. At the show a little while ago, and I was like, this ain't real. And I was like, oh, it is. And then,
Beyonce?
Yeah, he did Me, Myself, and I. He did like a speech about he doesn't have friends. Aaron, go ahead and
find that. Aaron,
find that. He did a speech on stage about how he doesn't have any real friends and motherfuckers didn't have his back. And then he said, play that. He's like, play that new song. And it's Beyonce's Me, Myself, and I.
Get the fuck out of here.
He's a loser.
But what's so fucked up? I'm so sorry to interrupt, but what's so fucked up about it too is like it. You know what's okay? The 3 biggest, like, again, we're going back to the beefs that like in sequential order of that Drake has had leading up to this, right? Like if you go to Meek Mill taking one of the biggest L's in hip hop, which by the way, I thought that beef was like whatever, but Back to Back is a legendary track. Look. Drake beating Meek Mill. Look at how Meek took that. Meek took that L. There was an Instagram post of him listening to Back in his car. Like, I'm gonna take that L and I'm gonna get better. And years later, Meek had this whole redemption arc. Right now, he's going through it, but like he had this whole redemption arc right after that because he took his L. Even Drake, after he got bodied by Pusha T, he was on the LeBron James the shop. Saying like, you know what, like Pusha T beat me, like it's whatever, the rap beef game, I lost, right? Okay, he took that L. How do you not learn, like, right, from those 2 moments where you've had redemption arcs after those beefs, that maybe double, triple, maybe quadrupling down and making this story go longer than it needs to be won't like have an irreparable damage on your career? Like, it's so weird to me that he's making this choice right now.
He's Timothy. Like, you got to think about it. Like, you got to understand in his mind. Like, there's nowhere in Drake's mind that he's comparing himself to me. Like, because Drake, even if we perceive Drake as hitting me just as hard as Kendrick hit him, which I do think Kendrick might have hit him just as hard one time, but then Kendrick hit him just that hard like 4 more times, right? At least. But I think for Drake's mind, it's how far the fall is from. Like, Meek didn't fall from as far as Drake fell. Meek wasn't as nowhere near where Drake was. Drake is experiencing a fall I don't think I've seen before. It's blowing my mind. Like, at the time, it's in a world of where are always in trouble, and we live in a world of constant fights about cancel culture and not cancel culture, and you always feel as though like no consequences are really real and really be fine and stuff like that. Jesus Christ, Drake's shit is looking crazy. Like, I'm like, whoa, I don't know if I've ever seen it look this bad for this long. So I think like from that perspective, I don't think he sees him and Meek and all these other redemption arc in the process to go. I think Drake is kind of just like in defense mode and like I don't think he's come to that place. I don't think if there's stages of grief, I think Drake is still in like disbelief and like lashing out. I don't think he's processed anything other than when you listen to all his like music sense or anything he says, it's very clear what he thinks. Hating on me for nothing. These trifling, disloyal turned around and formed like Transformers to take me down. That's how he feels like.
And what's funny in that regard is that like it's very clear that Drake has made amends with Atlanta, and which is very, I think, very calculated on his part. He
How did he do that? Did I miss something?
Young Thug, he gave Young Thug $1 million once he got out of court, once he got out of jail. He like literally paid his legal fees basically,
and that was amends for him.
That's how I know ain't Drake, because the fact that I didn't hear that, like how much music coverage I would have gotten if willing to give Drake no credit.
Future, I think too.
Yeah, you know, I'm locked in with the dark triad of Drake haters. So I know everything. I know a lot of stuff I can't even talk about that I'm actually worried about long term.
Wisdom to Drake haters right there.
Right. But Drake did what I can talk about is that Drake gave Thug $1 million straight out of jail after the case ended. And then like a week later, you hear Future talking about, I didn't even know there was beef. Like, I know y'all saw that. Where Future's like, I didn't know Kendrick's gonna do all that. I'm cool with Drake, yada, yada, yada. And so I expect once Drake, because here's the thing, and going back to what a couple of people said about how forgiving the Black community is to men with sex offender adjacent behavior, all Drake has to do is drop some good music. That's what he did with the Pusha T stuff. I said this in the video. It's 3-4 months later, Kiki, Do You Love Me was a TikTok dance and it was over. And I was sitting there like, how is this happening? Right. And so all he has to do is drop his next track with Future. And if it's a bop and it's a hit, people will still think it in the back of their heads about how he took this L and whatever else. But if it's a bop and a hit, they're not going to think it when the song is on. I like that No Face song.
You know,
listen, I put a video on my second channel saying the same thing and wasn't trying to air it.
See, I know not to put it on the internet though. Come on now.
He's in a bad place though, because the thing is, like, also music trends have changed so fun. Like the fact that Not Like Us was so big changed a lot of the trajectory of what is trending in music, right? Like if you look at the biggest songs right now that are, first off, the biggest artist in the world in the last like 6 months who's come up out of nowhere, the big trending thing is Doechii, right? Like Doechii is like has had like her album has had a crazy run, right? And
it's so crazy to me that like Doechii's so new to so many niggas.
No,
like
I'm
a part of like a Brooklyn scene, but Doechii has gone through like different eras of being a poppin' nigga. And I think
I know her from YouTube.
I think she transformed so much for different projects that people don't realize it was her, because Persuasion and like Persuasive and all that stuff were big hits.
No,
like I'm like,
she was a freshman. She was an XXL freshman 2 years before she blew up, and people were like, "Who's Doechii?" And I was like, "Doechii's been killing this game for so long." But this was like a perfect, but that's what I'm saying. It's a perfect storm of Not Like Us change. They're like, oh, okay, we want to listen to this type of music. Before Drake, Future, and that Atlanta tribe had such a crazy run and dominance over the sound and the sonics and the identity of hip hop for so long, right? And now, like, again, West Coast bangers are back in, right? You know, a lot more old school lyrical rap is back in. We're having the whole music industry kind of transition in 2005.
Big X, is that Big X the Plug that got that song where he's rapping over some old Sam Cooke or something?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I remember this. Bro, I remember this. All the Southern rappers used to sound like
but
this.
But it's a country from Shabuzi. Like kind of stuff is like, this is an era where Drake does not immediately dominate everything, right? He has to fundamentally shift his whole sonic structure in order to just drop it, like randomly just go into the studio, punch in, and then a hit, right? Like he has to fundamentally think about his pen game more. He has to do all of this stuff that is not necessarily antithetical to what he knows, but is not with him at the top of the food chain all of the time. And that undercuts his brand, that undercuts everything. He is like, even if he wasn't being like a whiny bitch about everything, I feel like he would be in a really, really bad position coming into this new era of music we're about to have over the next 4 years.
I feel like Drake, because he's known for his dominance in hip hop for the last decade or even over that, you know, it's the dance music. We already talked about him being a shapeshifter, going into different cultures, going into, you know, different styles where he's a shooter, you know, he's a killer, you know, and then he's a lover. Okay. And then he's Jamaican, he's Haitian, he's Hispanic, he's African. You know, sometimes he's white, he's Jewish, you know, his Jewish side, and sometimes he's blackity black, some kind of gang member.
Every once in a while he's still Canadian.
And he was right. And the whole time he's just Canadian. And but here we really see like how, because he's been dominated and he knew that stuff may happen, but it ain't gonna be nothing. I'm gonna come out on top every time. This time he didn't come out on top. Not only that, it changed the way people have perceived him. That every single move that Drake seems to make, we're looking at it like, oh, he weak. he doing this because he weak. He got an L. He ain't gonna, like, who does that? It's a bitch ass move. Like that's exactly, because now we're looking at it more than, oh, he's lyrical, he's great, he's a genius, he's LeBron, like, you know, for the music industry, for the rap game. Now we've literally shifted on how we really see him. Oh, he has weaknesses. He's LeBron. Like, he has no protection. He has no friends.
I think he always has been weak. He's always been this weak loser who hates rejection, because he acted this way whenever all the women in the industry rejected him and he threw tantrums. The difference is now, I look at this as just homoeroticism. He saw these Black rappers who he loved, who he thought he was on the same caliber as, because I don't think he saw himself as the same caliber as Pusha T, even though he dropped that big bomb that he had, Adonis. And he definitely didn't see himself as Meek Mill. He's tried to compare. This does not all start off with like the big three shit. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Kendrick came back and said, "Actually, no, you loser.
I will don't forget.
Don't
it's so crazy
compare yourself to me." And he got rejected by. This is like the pinnacle of a man's fragile ego when they get rejected by men they admire. He's had this fragile ego since he was getting rejected by Rihanna and all these other women that he's like admired that are like huge, but being rejected by this Black male rapper that he really wants to be like and be in his club, he's a loser. Like, this is what happens.
You know what I think it actually even more like, not even like, oh, he wants to be like him and be in his club, because I don't even think that's what it is with Kendrick, because I feel like, you know, these kind of people, you ever like people who resent you, not because they're jealous of you, but because they like think less of what you are. Like that thing, like Drake clearly doesn't respect what Kendrick is. Like you hear that in his responses to how he frames the kind of music he is, like his persona is this. He resents that. And I think what it actually is that he got a while where he was able to kind of change the culture of what's acceptable, or like the largest voices, right? Like there was a moment now where, like, for a while where Drake made it so you couldn't attack him no more for being like a pop of this and all these different things or whatever. Like he was able to kind of change the tides on what people, you know, feel like they respect and what you could be. And I think what he really resents is feeling like he was king, you know what I mean? And he had changed that standard. And here comes this who to him is everything that he actually kind of looks down on, and that's been flipped. I think that's what it really is. Like, more so that, not that I want to be accepted by you. I don't think you should be accepted. I don't think you should be what the standard is anymore. You should be king. And the fact that you are, and are like giving me shit about not being that, is what he's mad. Because like in all Drake's responses, it was very clear, like, I don't respect what you're saying, like what you're trying to talk about, the culture of it, and you know what I mean, and all of these things. I don't respect that. I'm calling it slave music. I'm calling it this. Like I fundamentally look down on how you see the world, like characterization, you know, and it shows in the fact that where he's gone for solace is these Aiden Ross streamers who make their whole thing on not respecting that. You know what I mean? That's why you sitting next to like the academics and them who, you know, not sitting next to, because, you know, he ain't never met no academics as much as academics.
What I realized
the
that
damage, you know, academics has done to hip hop cannot be understated. Like that guy is so, like, just to music in general, because there's so much random shit that comes out of that guy's stupid face, has no, like, no bearing on reality at all. I'm so sorry to interrupt, but yeah, it's just crazy to me.
That's the internet. But I want to go back to like the fact that Drake literally is someone who didn't think that he thought this was going to be the same way as Meek Mill and Pusha T, because we haven't heard from Kendrick, and Kendrick comes out but so many times. He's really about his peace, he's really about his family, and he's really about his lyrics. You know, he's very poetic, he's always been that. You know, he detached from a lot of the other people that he was coming up with in the industry, and just went his way. And he came out every blue moon and still was respected, did his thing. Now, what Drake did was, you know, fight, like, you know, picket this man. And this man came out and was like, you know what? You thought I couldn't? Now I will. And I don't think Drake expected for the blowback to be Kendrick taking his place. And like you were just saying, like, he can't take it. The success
even if he
that
lost,
he's seeing,
he think he'd be dethroned, because with Pusha T,
he's like, yo, like, I let everybody else that you know, came against me and may have even had a bar off of me, you know, may had something off of me. We didn't hear from them. They went back into their caves. Now Kendrick came from the cave and was like, yo, give me the stage. You know what I'm saying? Like, give me the lights. It's all about me. And Drake thought, oh no, he could never. And it ended up being Kendrick literally even took Drake fans and converted them. People weren't balanced. They started choosing a side, and they started actually respecting Kendrick, his lyricism, how he loves his community. And a lot of people started like feeling more like, you know what, LA music, and you know what I'm saying?
And then Kendrick was like, hey, here's some bops, by the way.
Yeah, and then he started
remember Luther Vandross? Remember real R&B, y'all?
I was like, that's what
there you go.
Started giving us some good stuff, and people cannot deny it. Like what Drake thought he would be the dominating for forever and ever and ever. And we would always have respect for Drake and his artistry. Here comes Kendrick, who nobody knew was in the running. Nobody knew was like, even that nobody knew how this was going to turn. And boom, he came out, and we're like, oh wow, Kendrick is really that. Not only that, he's bringing community, and Drake is bringing separation. And here is Kendrick bringing community, and he love the kids and don't got problem being around the kids. Okay, so you know what I'm saying? This is I think that's what really is bothering Drake. He's salty about that. He cannot take it, and he's finding any way that he can legally, or he's gonna try to get somebody around the corner, up the street, the neighbor, if he can't get to Kendrick directly, because somebody's gonna go down for the fact that Kendrick is who he is right now.
Garrison, you about to jump in?
Yeah, I was about to jump in. Okay, I actually, FD, I'm still stuck on this thing that you said earlier about how if Drake were to be successful in his lawsuit, this defamation lawsuit, it will fundamentally like end hip hop as we know it. And I'm really stuck on like the implications of Drake specifically, you know, fundamentally altering hip hop's like efficacy, like the foundational elements of it, right? And it kind of really gets to the point that Kendrick was making, that he's not like us. Like, he's really not a part of this culture. Van Lathan said this thing on his podcast, Higher Learning, that like the thing about Drake that he really, really, really has never gotten over is like that childhood trauma of never really being black enough, right? And I think like while Pusha T kind of got at that, like for sure in their beef, I think Kendrick nailed it in a way that very clearly bothered Drake on just a totally different level. Like the thing we remember about the Pusha T kind of beef was that he like had a kid. But the thing that really is at the core of the Kendrick Lamar beef is that you are not really black enough. And we can debate whether or not that's appropriate, whether or not he's a culture vulture, whether or not he's really a part of the culture. But the truth is like he started that song out by saying like, like he start after Kendrick ended his song saying, we don't want to hear you say that word no more, right? Like, and Drake starts his song saying the word. He says, you always rapping like you're trying to get the slaves free. Like there's something like psychological happening. Which is an insane line. It's an insane line that no black person would ever say. I'm just gonna put that out there.
No black person. It like proved the point beautifully. Honestly, it was such great comedy and timing.
Yes.
I don't think he's able to get over that. And it's one of those things where it's like the abusive boyfriend who's like, if I can't have you, nobody can, right? And it's like, if I can't own hip hop, if I can't be the center of the hip hop world, then we're gonna destroy hip hop entirely. And it's like I'm processing that right now to think like, man, how far gone do you actually have to be to like not recognize what you're doing in this moment in the way that it will fundamentally change the art form that you claim to love.
Do you guys know about the gay?
Well, he doesn't actually love it. Is the key.
So sorry, FD. No, okay, yeah. So do you guys know about the gay family, like the Marvin Gaye's, like kids? So they've had this pretty crazy run where they've sued quite a few songwriters and producers over being like, oh, this is very similar to Marvin Gaye songs. But here's the thing.
Didn't they get in Robin Thicke's ass?
They got in Robin Thicke's ass, but
they beat Robin Thicke, but I think they lost to Ed Sheeran, maybe?
To Ed Sheeran, but they beat Robin Thicke and Pharrell, because here's the problem. What they were trying to copyright is groove. Groove is when you have like a song, it's like the relationship between the bass and the drum. So pretty much everything that you're kind of feeling, like the way the rhythm goes, like what Afrobeat versus a hip hop groove versus a funk groove, like the key indicative elements, those are what suing on and saying that that's copyrighted to Marvin Gaye. If you do that, music just fucking crumbles, right? And when they won against Pharrell, it really hurt music for like a long time because it limited the kind of songs you could do. It limited what labels would fund at the time because it was still a very label-driven industry, right? And now, since they've lost to Ed Sheeran, a lot more stuff has opened up because it has reversed that. I don't know if it's reversed the previous ruling, but it's up more avenues to be able to experiment more with music, and you don't have to you're not worried about being sued into oblivion every 10 seconds, right? Again, like this kind of stuff, it's funny. Like it's cute for people who want to play politics in music, but it is detrimental to the art form if you really give a shit about it. Like it's very clear who sees music as like hip hop as this culture and who sees hip hop as a business, right? In this whole beef. And I think like if you were trying to if the allegation is who's really like about hip hop, who's really like driving this culture forward, and who is just there for like shits and giggles and bailing, because that's what also Drake said to Kendrick. He said, oh, when Taylor Swift needs a song, you're there. I think Drake's actions post this beef have kind of confirmed everything. It's not only that he's being a salty little bitch, it's that he's confirmed every single thing that was said about him, even though it's and then also something about like I think there was like a picture leaked like a week or two back from his father, Drake's father having a granddaughter.
It's supposedly the daughter. Yeah,
true,
I saw that.
Like also that just doesn't like from an rap battle is about optics, right? You've completely lost the optics battle. Like you fumbled it. Like it's not like you've fumbled it. It's crazy to me.
Can I want to go back to Doechii actually.
Yeah.
Because Olay says something that I thought I've been percolating a lot about Doechii. Because I'm one of, I was talking about my toxic masculine awakening to Beyonce way back in, when was Single Ladies? That like 2009? It had to be because before I got married, because I remember my wife was singing it. She wasn't my wife at the time. And like Doechii was somebody, I've been knowing Doechii for a minute, and I've been telling other dudes of my elder millennial, old school hip hop, purist type ilk, yo, Doechii. And they'll be like, and they'll take one look at what at the time was like gay Doechii and be like, nah, that ain't real hip hop, whatever. And so Olay asks, why is Doechii suddenly popping? And it's really simple. It's because she did a hippity hop boom bap rap song. That's the whole point of what boom bap was. And it's so funny because it's so on the nose and still good at the same time, and a critique of her own success. It's really an amazing piece of meta commentary within the song, because Doechii's been significant for a while, and I always have to take this how you will. If Doechii was light skinned, she'd be Doja Cat. She'd be way bigger than she is right now.
100%.
But she was still significant. But when the Joe Buttons of the world, I don't know. That may not be fair to Joe, but the Joe Button likes.
I have such a huge issue with Joe. Joe and academics ruined it. There's like because
I don't think Joe. All right. So I forgot they were together this second.
Say one thing before you like, there's a huge issue with like the fact that like, because we were talking about hip hop fans, there are hip hop fans who love boom bap and are elitist about boom bap. There are also conversely super gatekeepy hip hop fans who only love new current shit and everything else is corny as fuck. Right? Like, and both of them have no have no care for like really good innovative stuff when it comes out. Like, there are a lot of people who dismiss Doechii.
You know what it is people are one-dimensional. Yeah. Like, people are very one-dimensional, and they view things through the one dimension that they saw it at the time, right? Like, so I know that's what it is about Doechii, because I'm like, Doechii, I've seen how they talk about her, because they're seeing her now and they're like, oh yeah, she's covered up, it's not all that hyper.
She's covered up.
I'm like, you ain't seen all the eras of Doechii. Doechii is definitely like, she's all of the things, right? And the interesting thing about what's frustrating about that is it speaks to, like, you know what it is you need to do to be approved by certain people, but the problem is then you get stuck in that. Like, it makes me think of my like when I went on the Breakfast Club and I do my best Olivia Pope in comparison to like what I would typically look like, you know what I mean, depending on where you see me. But then you get this whole audience of Black people who now want you to look Olivia Pope-ish, and that's the standard that they see you by, and that's made me nervous for Doechii, because I'm like, I see them praising her because it's the way that they'll praise women who are like, oh, Rhapsody's dope because her clothes are on. Tierra Whack is dope because her clothes are on. You know what I mean? And like, while they're shitting on all, they can't see that. And that's what they're doing now with Doechii. And at the same time that it's getting her like the approval of some of those old heads, it gets her hated on by these younger who think she's just that, like, oh, they only like her because she's that boom bappity da 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 da. And I'm like, Doechii, if you go her say what it is, you know what I mean? Her persuasive era she's doing. I'm like, it's funny, the Doechii that people are seeing now is so different than like what I picture Doechii to be in my brain. She's just giving them the era that suits this particular album, but they don't see it. It kind of makes me think of like Tyler the Creator. I was watching a bunch of Tyler Creator clips in interviews last night. I couldn't sleep, random. But Tyler the Creator talks about how he first got on because like that boom bappity of Yonkers, which he said was a joke. He was making fun of how New York do that boom bappity, you know what I mean? And then it popped, and then you saw him in that lens, and it was like he had to keep recreating. Every Tyler the Creator project is a new Tyler the Creator, but he had to show them that he was those different things because they just were putting him in that one lens. And I feel like that's what they're doing to Doechii now. And
Doechii literally has been, she has been documenting her journey on YouTube for years. She talks about her experiences, all of that. She talks about where she's, she makes goals for herself. That's where I kind of came and really loved her before she even popped with the, what it is with Kodak and the So Persuasive, which was a very big Instagram, TikTok song. And so I say this to say, like, she, I think, shows even before the music, though, she's always had this type of personality and characteristic where she doesn't place herself in one box. She will pivot tomorrow. She will pivot 5 minutes ago. And she doesn't apologize for that. She sets these goals for herself. She's out loud. If you ask her a question, she will answer it. If she don't want to share anything with you, she won't share. That's how she's always been. She likes to be sexy. She likes to, from going to sexy, sometimes she'll rock her fro. Some people don't even know her with her fro. They only know her with her feet.
I know.
Yeah, I remember this look, and she wouldn't wear
phenomenal.
This right now because
Doechii, I know.
Yeah, and that's her right now. She's just in her element of let me to just tell my story. That's where I'm at. I don't want people to focus on my sexiness right now. It's just telling my story. But if she wants to flip it and go back to that Doechii or be somebody new, this is what I like about her as an artist. She is all of the things very unapologetically and authentically, because you can be that when that's actually you. Unfortunately, Drake have that. He don't got it.
But also,
we haven't seen a real Drake in like a decade and a half.
You guys are saying that like Doechii's never like people tried to people have tried to put a lot of artists in boxes, right? Doechii's like, I'm not gonna fit in this one box. I'm gonna be in multiple boxes. Drake found one box that they stereotyped him in, and just for the next 10 years is like, yes, this is great for me. I'm just gonna be here and just make $1 million every single time. Not that, because you don't make money music otherwise.
Y'all want to get back to that TikTok convo we were having?
Yes,
please.
Yeah.
Because I know we about to run out of time, and I had some more heat.
Drop it. TikTok combo. What TikTok combo?
I don't know how we. Aaron, you'll figure it out. Going back.
We've been talking about TikTok, like the TikTok ban and what's going to happen for creators and where they're going and the different
discourse and think pieces online.
Like the bar for entry for content is very low, like for entry, but the bar for like success in content or whatever, much higher. You know what I mean? So I think we were talking about all the world around that. That's enough to jump you off, FD.
Yeah, thank you. And we were getting into specifically like what's going to work and what's not going to work outside of TikTok. And something hadn't been said that I was percolating, but I didn't get to it. And shout out to, I guess, Julesy talks about this a lot in her TikTok, which is that there's a group of, well, let me not say group. There's a genre of TikTok that works very well that can only work on TikTok. And that is the conflict rage bait, and when I heard y'all talking about the way there's like people fighting about what they are and aren't going to do on TikTok and going to red cycle or whatever in China, red zone.
No,
my bad.
But I disagree.
Red beans and rice,
red
Kool-Aid.
But basically, like because TikTok, one of the reasons why it can bring you an audience is because TikTok very effectively like breaks down the human conditions. Like this is what makes you advanced monkeys react. You get angry or you get horny and you start commenting, sharing, and posting. So we're going to make sure that's what most of TikTok is. And I don't see thirsty content on YouTube. I don't see, Instagram is different. Like, I don't know. Instagram be catching me. I'm like, man, I wasn't looking for this. But without the algorithm feeding that, I'm just I need people to understand I'm still like, I'm 40, about to be 43 and I'm married, but I'm not a monk. That's a whole other conversation. But you get my point though. Like without those things to drive content, people that think, no shade, some shade, people that think they're talented, that think they're creative are going to struggle without being able to like produce nurtured drama cycles on social media, because other social media platforms aren't built around drama cycles.
I don't know if that's true. I mean, YouTube is, there's an entire Reddit subsection called YouTube drama.
Yeah, there is, but there's
not like TikTok
for it. There's not like how like everybody on TikTok is like, if one thing was said or someone don't like something to say, then it's the culture of everybody jump on this now because it's trending. That's how we're gonna get hot. Everybody has a person that gets canceled, you know, or gets in trouble, like that. All the drama will do on that one person, you know. But it's not
a 15
you know what I'm saying? Like it has to be a win.
Also the cycle,
Go ahead,
the cycle, the quick cycle of rage happens really quick on TikTok. I mean, you made a comment about my recap video about what happened with the whole Beyonce stuff. That all happened in a matter of like 8 days, maybe. Like it's such a quick turnaround that I've only seen that be replicated on Twitter. That's the only spot that I've seen it be replicated where it's like you wake up the next day and now there's some new beef that had to come from this beef. You'll miss the whole season on
Yeah,
Twitter.
yeah.
And that's because the comment section from YouTube comes to life on TikTok. So that one sentence from the YouTube space because they're not going to make a whole video. Not everybody's going to do it because, as you said, FD, and that, I can say that everybody ain't got it to do a 30-minute something off of one sentence of but people will go to TikTok and start up some kind of war, something off of that, because they know this is going to get off. Like this girl that said this about Beyonce. Oh no, let's make sure we go in about it. They don't need to do much or say much or make it anything that actually has any significance. People will just scream into the lens.
You just hit it on the neck. TikTok made the comment section the content. That's what it is. And that, like, it didn't exist because, like, right now, if me and insert other person here, because I feel like like me and a lot of the cornbread dudes, we're all cool. But like every other week, it feels like somebody's saying something to get one of them to be mad at me. Is some weird shady shit. So if me and Lil Bill had beef, it wouldn't be possible for that beef to exist between anybody else but me and him and other folks with a platform. But on TikTok, if anybody could, it could be their third TikTok. And like, if it's fiery enough, if they got enough heat in those bars, then it can be just as prominent and significant as people with much larger platforms. I cut off Garrison. My bad.
I was just gonna say that the thing that stands out to me about YouTube, the big difference is like the zeitgeist, the hot topic of the moment is actually like much longer than on YouTube than it is on TikTok. On TikTok, you have to jump on the trend today because it might not be the thing that people are talking about tomorrow. Yeah. And so it leads to like this kind of dogpiling where like all these people are making videos about this one thing right now. And like that's the whole algorithm for this section of time. Whereas on YouTube, I just saw like Legal Eagle posted a video about Matt Gaetz, the report that came about him. He posted a video weeks after that thing happened.
About to say, big creators can revive what seemed like a dead topic on YouTube.
Because people are still thinking about it. I got time to sit here and let this run in the back while I'm exercising. Yeah. Like I got time for that. I actually didn't get much from it from a TikTok video because they're rereading things. They don't have time to really sit down and give you something prolific, But on YouTube, I did research. This is an investigative report, okay, baby. I did my time. I even got people who are experts on the matter who are coming in, or I've grabbed some about to call it SOTs. I grabbed some interviews where you probably missed it, and this actually gives the whole story. Like research, all that stuff goes into the YouTube and the long forms. And this is not no dig, because I know people are going to watch this and be like, because this is how they're doing on Threads. They don't got like TikTok. Really, this is how I make my money. And it's beautiful, and I love that for you because they are making they coin. Okay, people are rich. People are living their life. People are killing each other over there on TikTok over content. However, on YouTube, I don't think if you don't, then this goes into what you were saying, Olay. If you don't, and I'll take it from you because me and you have conversations about it all the time about how to be better, what goes into it, what that looks like. And if you don't have the patience or the drive to try to learn how to actually give yourself a personality past just sitting and looking at the camera and letting the song play or stealing somebody else's content, dance moves or whatever, you're not gonna thrive on YouTube because we're not gonna. You're just not gonna thrive on YouTube. Like if you want to put the work in and still do your shorts to get your TikTok vibe, you can do that.
Or you're gonna be consistent, it's not just about drama content. It has to be content. Like you have to make some argument, some case, some video essay. I will say this. I'll say I guess the marketplace is different. Like in the sense when are in trouble on TikTok, when they're in trouble, as in everybody is talking about it or talking shit about them, that's not a harm to them on TikTok. That's a be getting hot. You know what I mean? Like that is the common marketplace. Like they shit on you, they all dunk on you, and then they go about their business, but it's not to end you. If is for whatever reason is in so much trouble, all YouTube video essayists start making content, but they're actually in trouble. Like they're about to lose advertisers. Shit is bad. For example, Illuminati, I remember when Illuminati, I was on a show with Illuminati at the time.
Forgot about Illuminati.
That's the greatest cancellation I ever seen in my life. I pull it up to illustrate it to people like a cautionary tale.
It happened with you guys, then it happened with H Bomber guy when he dropped some shit on it.
Bro, like
3 times there really.
Ended. If you type in Illuminati, go look. It is the entire over just video essay after video essay with millions of views and all that, like for more than a year. It was like 2 years ago. I remember when like that started. She fucked that up for her own self, like on Twitter. And she took it. Let me tell you something. Everything was cool until she took that to YouTube. She took it to YouTube. She's the one, she made the video. And once they were like, oh, let me jump in the algorithm, and they realized that was hot, it was, they swallowed her whole. Advertisers gone, this and the next thing. Like when they're talking shit about you on Twitter, they're talking shit about you on Twitter, but they don't truly do nothing in your life and that don't leave that app. Like,
I don't know. I would push back on that because maybe not for money wise, as in like social media advertisement, because I'm not on YouTube like that. But firing, I know a good amount of folks who have lost their jobs from a TikTok drama.
But here's the thing: like, everything you're describing.
I'm thinking of it. I'm thinking when I think drama, or like in the people I'm talking about getting in trouble. I'm talking about people who are, they're not in trouble because they're like, I'm not talking about the people who you really fucked up. They got you there. Like you really fucked up. You can get in trouble. More so, like I don't like what you like. Oh, like when Skinny, what's her name? Slim some. The other day was in trouble. Like everybody was mad because she made a video about want to be skinny. Like a thing like that. Like she's not gonna get, nothing is gonna happen in her life, but they're eating her up all over the place. But nothing is gonna happen. You know what I mean with that?
It depends because I've seen people where it's like, dang, this is hard for me as a therapist. Now I'm calling the board on you, and you're losing your license. Like I think it
right. Well, so that's like the sister, the sister therapist that got a little spicy talking about black men, and she became the focal point of the Black manosphere for a good 6 months.
But the brick girl, remember the brick girl? And we had the conversation about her.
Well, but like
that was a whole thing, and then it was like, oh, now should we believe?
Here's the thing about all this stuff.
You're talking about people who have like specific heightened bars of their profession, or they involve the law in some way. You know what I mean? Like that's the thing. Like I have my own creator friend who got like fired from his legal jobs because of, but he actively was saying shit that you're gonna get in trouble for that. Like there are niggas that carried away.
He got fired for some shit that wasn't.
No. I love you.
That was saying, and she was saying, and then ended up going to. It got to us, and then basically she was working for some nonprofit that was owned by a black company, and then next thing you know, she thought she was gonna get into MAGA, and then MAGA saw that her kids were a little light skinned, so they said we can't even have you in the group. So she got fired from a job that she was temporary at. Somebody around here in Dunwoody, in Atlanta. They drove up to somebody at a gas station and was like, go back to your country, but had the whole Buckhead landscaping system on the side of the truck, lost their job. So sometimes TikTok is able to be a quick and investigation. Like they will find everything, go on this. They can be.
I clearly have TikTok. My apologies.
Well,
no. I think actually, I still. Well, go ahead, Zay, and I'll jump in after you.
I think it'll also like tie into what you're gonna say, FD, but like everything you guys have described, like I think all of it's true, but I think also to an extent, like the one thing that isn't true is saying that there's never been a platform like that before. There has. It's Twitter. Like this, TikTok is Twitter with video, right? It has the same exact cadence, right? Oh, you made this piece of content or this line from this show or this thing that happened. Let me illuminate on that line, and then we're all going to quote retweet it and dunk on whoever we quote retweeted. TikTok is the same. How many times have you been scrolling and you've seen somebody stitch like 5 seconds of a video where you don't know the rest of the context and then just make a 10-minute takedown on that 5 seconds of video? It's entirely built on building on top of, like, especially the commentary section specifically, on building on top of and dunking on other people. That's how the cadence works.
What makes it different is Twitter has never paid as many people and created and put as many people on as, like, don't get me wrong, if you got put on Twitter, it meant something in terms of, the lanes of, first of all, to get put on Twitter is a specific culture of people. It has to be people like, you're intelligent, you know what I mean? It's what you're thinking, thought leader, journalist, yada, 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 those kinds of like niggas like me who got popping on Twitter, right? So there's that, but also Twitter wasn't earning money. Twitter was not getting, you know what I mean? Like you had to like do other things and be proactive and figure out how to like make it work to your benefit and do a bunch of real work to like make it shake to do something. But TikTok not only did TikTok put a shit ton of people on, but it put a shit ton of people on that would not traditionally have been able to get on other apps because of the way the algorithms are set up, because all of this, right? Like TikTok.
I mean, I don't know, but there's a lot of people on Twitter. There's a lot of people on Twitter who are maybe not in the.
I think the culture is. I think the culture of TikTok and Twitter are similar, but I think the algorithms are fundamentally different. Yes. Like that's what I've been hearing people talk about. It's like the fundamental nature of the TikTok algorithm of feeding you a bunch of shit up of people maybe you wouldn't have followed, you would have never seen. It's doing that, you know what I mean, and keeping you on here forever in a way that I think maybe others aren't.
I would agree with that.
One thing I want I think the thing, especially as we're talking about people transitioning from TikTok, right? Sorry, I think I got something caught in my throat. Is because the barrier of entry is so low, and that is just fundamentally true. And what makes you successful on TikTok is not necessarily an absence of talent, because it takes, again, I be making TikToks and I be like, my TikToks suck. Fuck, why can't I be as quick-witted and short and to the point as these other people I be watching? Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I don't make TikTok very often. So like, I'm not saying it's not a talent, but it's a specific type of talent that is easier to reproduce, share, spread, respond to, and creates that culture. And going back to what Olay said earlier, what YouTube rewards when it does come to conflict and beef and canceling, does have, if your career is the content creation, far more dire and lasting circumstances. I know a few creators, not just video essayists, but the influencer types, vloggers, etc., that because they were on YouTube and because of the way YouTube manages drama and because of how long it can last, no, they were out the game.
Yeah.
It was it. Like, right? Everybody that was in this Beyonce, if TikTok survives past, I guess, this weekend or whatever, everybody that had a big blow up in this Beyonce civil war is going to be fine. Not a single person that got drugged for a couple of days is going to lose their career over any specific thing that they did, unless there's like a severely concerted effort. A couple of them should. One dude was abusing kids or some shit. I don't know.
Oh,
but like, I don't know nothing about it. I don't want to do no dude name, but I heard that. Like, so everybody will have their career back. But I can name off the top of my head 4 or 5 video essayists or influencers that some of them is just, this was a bad video. You tried it on this person. It didn't work. Like several of them. That's all it is. The Praise the Shadows dude that was he was a horror creator. He made a really bad video. And I like dude. He made a really bad video calling some people out. And it's been over for him since. He has not gotten his channel back up to health. He might get there, but the difference is serious.
I watched you and the company man spar to kick what's the dirt in the back.
Oh, right.
Not you cancel somebody. Not you cancel. That was you cancel somebody.
Yeah, listen. After you so casual, come up like little B-side, just a little quick. I'm not even gonna write a video. Just do a quick little stream. Your life up.
I was trying. People was mad I was too nice, but it did put I be forgetting that I got shooters. Mm-hmm. So as soon as I point to a nigga, like it becomes currency, and that's what it is. That same outrage cycle on TikTok. That's 8 days. On YouTube is 2 years, legit 2 years long, if not more.
Yeah, I've seen.
And I'm sorry, one thing. And the money, because there's a bigger financial incentive. Because like TikTok, I know some people getting paid and getting paid well, and there's other opportunities. Don't nobody pay like YouTube AdSense. It's not even close. Right. Just letting y'all know if y'all come through, get these coins if you can do it. Like for real. Don't nobody pay like YouTube AdSense.
Sponsored content.
Ain't no sponsorships. And I don't know. I forget. I lost those.
Yeah. So I feel like I've seen on YouTube in the YouTube space, and again, I have to put this out there because there's this disclaimer, because people be like, why? Well, they on YouTube and da-da-da-da. I'm just now getting my own YouTube channel, and getting your YouTube channel from the ground, because I used to just do it for the show that I worked on, and the one that I had before that had a lot of numbers. My likeliness was owned by the company that I worked for. So they deleted it, have all my stuff. So starting from scratch and doing it ain't no joke. But seeing people, do their work and that YouTube is their space, because I never felt, just Instagram was for me personally, for me to throw ass a couple of times, go out, be sexy, do my thing. And then YouTube was just my space to actually be, I don't care if my Instagram family, which is my blood family or whatever from Facebook, watch my stuff. Because people are crying about that on the internet too.
Oh
I don't
God, the
care
whole my family isn't clicking on my videos
it's not
and
for
like
them
making
to
comments.
watch it. Yeah, it's not for them to watch it. I don't really give a damn. I don't want to talk politics with my cousin and them. But there are people who actually want to hear from me with politics or my life or the other things that I do. Yeah, I'll go ahead and do that on in the YouTube space. But when I see, like, I kind of like, I want everybody to go where they feel they can do it or whatever. But don't come over here and expect TikTok on YouTube. That's the big problem.
Niggas
Now,
just don't want to get it out the mud.
I don't want to knock TikTok, because TikTok, when I need to find a quick recipe, because I just got in the kitchen about 4-5 years ago. I'm Haitian, but I just got in the kitchen about 4-5 years ago. And when I need to find a quick recipe and I just attach Black people at the end of the recipe search that I'm looking for, that's enough for me. I need to know how to make this, Black people. And I love that TikTok will give me all the Black hands, all the Black people cooking. And I have become a good cook because of it. I ain't gonna hold you, because going on YouTube and having to scroll, like, girl, get to it. Okay. Oh my God. Now, see, I can go on TikTok and find this person, give me the recipe, 5 minutes tops. I can go in that kitchen and cook me a good meal. And I'm a cook. I'm a better cook because of it. So TikTok ain't all bad and YouTube ain't all bad, but or whatever. If people still on Twitter at this point, I don't even give a damn, because we have seen from this Threads situation with Mark Zuckerberg attaching himself to Donald Trump and doing an Elon Musk type strategy over there on Threads now. It's like, none of these, nowhere is safe if that's where people are moving and why they're moving. We move from Twitter to find a safer space. We get over the Threads only to find out that the same kind of takeover that Elon Musk did at Twitter, here goes Mark Zuckerberg, who already owned it and who was saying that he wants to save us and give us a space to be able to be protected and all that. Now he's saying F all that,
no more N-word blocking.
Nothing of that. With no fact checking for real. We're gonna have community notes, and community notes are always better, even though fact checking wasn't even doing what they need to do in the beginning. But now this is just getting all bad. So if people are moving because they're looking for a safer space, every time I go to Blue Sky, there's an eerie silence.
It's the same
It's
Twitter.
like, it's an eerie silence on Blue Sky. And I'm like, it's just, hello? Is anybody here?
I feel like I'm on eggshells.
They're there.
It's an eerie silence. But I said it to say, like,
I love Blue Sky. I think Blue Sky is really, really nerdy though. And that might be why. Blue Sky. Like, I'm all up in Blue Sky, and all I have is anime memes, video game stuff, minimal politics.
To anybody on social media, like, for what people want for platforms, like when I see people debating about why they want to go, where they want to go, or why, and most of the conversation is about where they can go viral, where they can get the biggest audience. For me, I'm at a place in my social media career where I want you to leave me alone on the other apps. Like, I really, like, I want to create my content on YouTube, and I actually don't want to talk to people, because what I realize is a lot of these apps are built on contention. Like, people they're not reading what you say to, like, take what they find valuable. They're reading it to find what they can nitpick, because that's the culture of the app. That's how they build currency. And for me, I feel like a lot of the things that I want to talk about are the arguments that I want to say or my opinion on things. I know that if I make a long form video on YouTube and you sit down and listen to it, more people than not are going to understand what I'm saying and not going to be carrying on. But if I try to create the TikTok version of like the short bite for Twitter or for Threads or whatever, of that point where you can't flesh it out, it's just fighting the fight. And it's like, you're being misunderstood anyway. So I don't see the point. I will say this about, like, I feel compelled to make sure I say this about TikTok. The TikTok ban is incredibly significant, not just like how you feel about TikTok or how you feel about TikTok creators, any of those things. What they're effectively trying to do is, like, allow for these American billionaires to have monopolies on apps, like to force it's like, it goes way beyond TikTok. What the law is, right? Is to be able to force any app to be sold or whatever, and all this under pretense. So it's incredibly significant for a lot more reasons than are being acknowledged in the discourse. So I want to say that one. Two, as far as, like, the apps, like as a creator, for me, it's like what do you want out of your platforms you're trying to build or your career, what you're doing long term with it? Like if you're just trying to do, for me, I think of apps and I'm thinking about longevity. Like if you do something and this is what you want to do and you want to keep doing it, in the world that we're in, especially as a creator, where you have to like create, you have to come up with ideas, you have to be this, there's a certain level of uncertainty about how long you can do that or stay as relevant or blah, blah, blah. And so I think about, where am I creating the most meaningful like audience and community that are invested in me? And the reality is there are always, on every app, there are people who are going to be the biggest people on that app, and shit is different for them, what their, like their opportunities and what it means for them. But the average person, or the average like person who even has like a larger platform on a TikTok, does not have, those TikTok followers are not worth what a YouTube follower is. It just isn't. Or you know what I mean? And it's not just, it's the same thing for Instagram. Subscribers are not the same thing. And for me, I've seen a shit ton of people who are, and I know them, a shit ton of people personally who are very big on TikTok, who cannot get 10,000 people to tune into what they're doing on YouTube or somewhere else or anything. When they try to transfer that, because what happens is the nature of how the app is set up is like, yeah, they'll follow it, scroll, everybody's following and clicking like whatever, if it's shown to them with ease, you know what I mean? Like that is low. But as far as getting them to like invest in that creator or leave that app for that creator, I have seen so many times now in the last several years, a TikTok creator with millions of followers get arrested for murder, multiple and shit. And it's not even like their audience is like, oh yeah, I hadn't noticed they posted in a while, because they might have 1 million followers, but on TikTok, but they do not have 1 million people or even 10,000 people who are invested in them as a person or creator. So for me, I'm more concerned, like, to me, 100,000 people watching your video on Instagram is not the same thing as 100,000 watching your shit on YouTube. And that's what it is for me. I'm trying to think about, like, that's how I see it. Like, to me, I see YouTube. Yes, YouTube is a shit ton more work. To be successful on YouTube, it is very like daunting, all of this. But I find what you're getting for what you're putting in, and if you're able to be successful at that, it's just not comparable.
Nowhere near. I think I think you hit the nail on the head. Like it's also like, yeah, what you said about the culture of TikTok, it's less about the followers you have and more about what the algorithm feeds you. The way that TikTok calculates views is by who it serves something to, right? That's why you have thousands of thousands of likes and everything like that, and there's plenty of videos with like hundreds of thousands of views and only like a few likes, right? So I think you hit the nail on the head with all of that. I also think that I think one thing we should keep in mind is TikTok is also a much newer platform than YouTube is. YouTube took time to get to this place, right? And I think that just by that nature, it's going to have more money involved in order for that to function. The one thing that I do think that you're 100% spot on about, which I think more people should be thinking about, is the fact that you find a platform not long term sanity. Like, I think that conversation that you were mentioning about how people are trying to find a platform to go viral on, that's not going to make you, but the platform is not what makes you viral. It's your content in relation to that platform that makes you viral. So there are plenty of TikTokers who can come to YouTube, who can learn the platform and make it work. I came from TikTok. I did a TikTok that went viral, and then Philip DeFranco found me and was like, no, you're going to do YouTube now. And I love YouTube. I think it's an amazing platform. I've always wanted to have this kind of a platform, and understanding it better has made me a better creator, a better musician, a better commentator, all of those things. I think that this need to go viral, or this need for, okay, well, this platform, it's very, very easy. If you really have it, and I think a lot of TikTok creators do have it, they'll be able to function on other platforms. This happened with Vine. Vine went away. King Bacchus,
and most of them went away.
A lot of them did, but a lot of them stayed. There's a lot of people who transitioned from Vine to YouTube or to Instagram and stuck around. So
about a handful by comparison,
huh?
Like I say about here's the thing, right? If you look at the rise and fall apps, which by the way, I'm glad you reminded us that YouTube has been around longer, because to me, that's another point. In the era of like watching the rise and fall of many apps come and go, YouTube has shown me that YouTube has the greatest staying power. I could feel safest that YouTube is going to be around. There's no guarantee to anything, but there's also that. When it came like Vine is Francesca Lee has a friend, Francesca Ramsey. She's Francesca Lee on socials, but Francesca Ramsey talks about this a lot because she's a veteran creator and has been on all these apps. There are many people on YouTube. When Vine went, there were a bunch of creators who were huge on Vine that just went away, like plenty of them. And there are a handful of that are successful, and because they were able, you know what I mean, they did other things with it. Like I'm thinking of like my cousin King Batch,
no, King Batch is still
Brother
around,
King Batch, Phi Beta Sigma.
This goes into what I was about to say. This goes into what FD had brought up earlier about that some of these skills that are online in online content can stay online, and some of them have to be transferable to outside. And there's been this blend of like social media content blending in with entertainment. It's entertainment industry. I consider it entertainment industry. And just based off of the people that contact you and the way that we're able to all monetize, we're entertainers. And sometimes that entertainment can stay online or be a podcast or be audio, video over here through social media. And some of those skills to be transferred into like what you would consider Hollywood or entertainment. And like the people that disappear, if you're someone who, I don't know, was a streamer, you might not have to know how to write a script or act in a show or do public speaking outside of maybe a couple like comic conventions and stuff. But if you're doing skits online and you're funny online, or you're doing something that could be transferred to a keynote speech or whatever, like that stuff, if the app fails and falls, can you speak at public events? Can you act? Can you write a script? Can you make your skit something long form where it's like Francesca Ramsey is a good example. Yeah, she started on YouTube and then she went to Decoded and then she has written for shows, and like she's been able to go back and forth between having the online content and staying with social media apps. And she's also had to be within entertainment in the Hollywood realm.
Yeah. And she can tell you what she has a million times in 50 million ways on social media that she's failed at times. This thing isn't something where you just jump in. Some people can just jump in, but they don't know how to maintain. You'll see people jump in and be able to do that because this was a hit moment. This was a spur of the moment time where you actually shined. But like you were saying, are your skills transferable? Now your audience may expect a story from you every other week, or now you just show them who you are, or what you can do, or whatever. Figure that out. But like, I just feel like the space isn't for everyone. Like, you may not be someone who needs to be on social media. How can you be somebody who shines on the outside? You may be somebody who needs to be on the stage. You may be somebody who needs to be that speaker,
or be an editor, or be
or an editor, or different. There is, you may be like, we need the mics to stop being sold, but that's a story for another day. Now, I just feel like, people are so upset right now because it's forcing them to think about where they're going to go. And the thing I keep seeing, like you guys are saying, is this focus on my followers, my money, my
virality. Honestly,
how I'm going to be.
People don't even care about money. They care about visibility, bro. I've been saying this for years, like, chasing visibility. They're not even chasing money. Like, when you hear them talk about it, because honestly, where the money and all that stuff comes out isn't like in the work, you know what I mean? Isn't how much work you have to put in. People are trying, when you hear them talking, when you like tear it apart, what they fundamentally, everyone is asking is, how can I get the most out of doing the least? You know what I mean? And like, the truth is, they look at, because the bar for entry is so low for creation, to be a creator, they think that that's where it's going to be. But the truth is, to be really successful in creation, there is no overnight success. And there is, you have to do a shit ton of work, and people are not interested in hearing that. Like, go ahead.
One thing I do think, and that people need to hear, though, as we talk about the hard work, is that this isn't capitalist realism. You also got to be lucky. Like, I know a lot of really talented, hardworking creators that it ain't happening for them. It's just not.
Yeah.
Or even worse, they got a shot, they got a look, they had a couple of buzz moments, and they couldn't sustain them for whatever reason, like reasons out their control, reasons we can't even understand. It just ain't happen. So also understand that coming to YouTube, because YouTube is so fickle. And actually, I guess it's happened on TikTok too, because I got people I followed years ago whose videos I never see until I go to my legit following page and be like, oh, I forgot about you. Yeah. So like be prepared for that struggle, both like financially and mentally, that you probably are making good stuff. You probably are, you probably aren't untalented, but YouTube is very mercurial in who it puts into its algorithm bloodstream and who it says, no, not for you. And there's ways to like stay there longer that you can understand and learn, but getting in there in the first place is so much dust in the wind. It just, you know.
I want to piggyback off that. I'll let you go, Garrison. That just made me think, because one, I think sometimes that's also true, and something I've realized in my own self is sometimes your shit is not as good as you thought it was. Like, I can think of there are lots of times I go in ebbs and flows of being discouraged or whatever in terms of creation, right? Some things that you think like should have done better or should have done this or whatever. Some things you work the hardest on often, and that they don't get the views, and the easiest things you thought like you put the least amount of energy in, did well or whatever and all this. But in thinking of like when I started YouTube and the amount of like discouragement you might feel, or you wanted this video to do this, or you thought it was so much better. But when I look back at my content or every video I'm trying to improve, and you're like, oh, it wasn't that good. Like, it doesn't deserve all the views that you think it is. A lot of times you see people complaining or whatever and stuff like that, but it's like, your shit might not be that good. Like, look at what the best really doing, right? And like constantly, elevate. And also too, don't get discouraged so early. Like, I've been seeing this, like I've seen this, and when like even bigger creators, like if I think of, the Joe Budden podcast, don't shoot me, Flip, because I don't know you, and I see he's get mad when people comment on stuff, but like Flip on the Joe Budden Network. Flip is one of the cast members on the Joe Budden podcast. He has a show called Improper Improv that he does on the network. And like this season, I guess you feel like, it's struggled to get its footing a little bit or something, and maybe the views, like they had one episode, like the last episode where the views like kind of dropped off significantly from where they were. And then they wrapped the show up. Like, you know what I mean? And I was like, that kind of mentality, like I think about that and I'm like, you won't have successful things if you expect it to perform like that every time, or you think because it went, there was a dip or something, like quit it. Like I think like my first episode of Olay and Friends that made me want to do, I think maybe got 70, 80, 7,000 views, which I hadn't been getting on my channel at the time. So I'm like, oh, let me do this again. And my second episode of Olay and Friends, maybe the time got like 20,000, if I had been like, damn, it wasn't those views, so let me quit it, fuck it. You know what I mean? You won't get this. I think that's also something to keep in mind. Like, please don't, there's a misconception that blow up overnight, because it's the same way I can see people calling Doechii an industry plant because they think she blew up overnight, and she's been in the game for years, like with projects and stuff. Like, don't mislead yourself to think these other people are doing so well and that just happened. Like after you be talking all the time, by the time you was in small creative purgatory and no one was watching them videos.
A year and a half.
Yeah.
I was in that motherfucker for a year. Like, do not know. I have, like, do not scroll to the bottom of my page because folks be like, you gonna make a video about this? I'm like, yeah, I did it in 2022.
Yeah,
I did it in 2020. What you mean talk about Hamilton? Garrison was
to that point though, a couple things. One, I think about what Kobe said, rest in peace. Kobe was like, you got to love practice, right? Like that's the actual point, is that you just have to have a love for practicing. And that's what leads to greatness. And I think like a lot of people jump into this, and TikTok definitely facilitated this. Vine facilitated this before that, where you can just kind of do a couple things and blow up. And now you're an influencer or a content creator. And you really didn't love the actual work of coming up with ideas to share online. And like, I think about Francesca. She's a writer, and she probably been a writer and been planning to be a writer for a very, very long time. And it shows because she loves the work of it all. I think about you, FD, Olay, everybody on this call. Like, you love the idea. You love the work of sharing ideas in an interesting way for people to consume. And I think that's really at the heart of it. I tell people all the time, like, going viral actually kind of sucks. It's actually one of the worst things that can happen to you. Like, surprisingly, one of the worst things that can happen to you is going viral. It will ruin your life going viral, because you would rather, and I tell people this all the time.
Yeah, I'm like, I can't be with y'all now. That shit changed my life. No, I'm sorry.
I'll say, if you go viral for doing the thing that you want to do, great, right? At the same time, like,
going viral on accident,
yeah. I've made videos that have gone viral in right-wing circles, and I have literal death threats on my door, right? Like, I have literal people calling my phone, leaving my address as the voicemail on my phone. You know what I mean? Like, that has happened. And so it can end up in the wrong places. I think it's better, and this is just my opinion, I think it's better to gain, on 20, 40, 50, 60, 70,000 view videos over the course of a year, get your kind of following up on people who actually want to be there, rather than going viral and ending up in circles of people who
Oh,
want
yeah.
nothing to do with you, who actually
Yeah.
just hate you, right?
Yeah.
And so like there are pros and cons. I'm not trying to like down going viral. I'm just saying that like there are risks to this, right? Like there are hazardous occupational kind of risks to going viral and to doing content, and you have to actually love what you're doing. The last thing I'll say is that to that point, you got to kind of know what it is that you want to do to a degree. Like I do feel like there is a discovery process and you have to be willing to experiment. But I think a lot of people go into content creation not really having much grounding on why they're making content to begin with. And so the discouragement is because it's not blowing up. But are you contributing to the conversation? Are you putting something out there that in a year or 2 years or 3 years will still be relevant, or you'll still be proud of, even if you think the craftsmanship could be better, you're proud of the content. And I think that's a part of it. You have to think about that. My biggest video
Do you
last
actually
year,
want to create?
yeah, like my biggest video from 2024 was a video about OJ Simpson and the N-word. And I
love
made
that
it.
video.
I made it
I
3
know. I
years
remember
ago.
that video too.
I made it 3 years ago. That joint sat at 785 views for a year and a half.
And then OJ died.
And then OJ died and it blew up. You know what I mean?
Good.
And that's like that's the way it kind of works. But I'm so like I look back at the video and I think, oh man, I should have changed this, or I could have done that better. I said this kind of weird. But like I'm proud of the content. You feel me? Like I like the content that I made, and it connected with people years later.
Yeah, my most watched video is on my channel is the jankiest shit I made is my election day video that I had to make by myself in the dead of night because Aaron, my editor, is asleep. Like it's janky and got no nothing. Like, oh, okay, almost 1 million and all like that. But then jumping you to what you're saying too, I think about the value in creating a back catalog. I think maybe FT told me this. I either learned this or FT told me this when I first got on YouTube. But will be chasing virality, or you want everybody to see your channel. But like, it is I think it's the same way when an artist has one hit blow up, but they don't have any other music. Like they don't have an album or anything out, and so then they scramble to try to get something out or whatever to capitalize on that. It's the same thing. It's like, it's unfortunate if you have your video, your one blow up catch up, and you don't have a back catalog for those people to stay there on the channel and have other things to watch. And I've seen that happen a lot of times. Like you'll see a video that's super successful, and you click on the channel, and there's nothing else like it. So that the subscribers aren't there, they're not coming back for it. So you there's a benefit to being able to build up your channel and your back catalog so that when people do find it, the shit is there.
I think also like sorry.
You go ahead, Rebecca.
I'm so sorry, but I feel like I get it, and you know what's so funny? I just remember because I have this whole different like placement into YouTube, right? This is when Donald Trump first got in. I just got my grad degree and I was doing politics, and I came in as a journalist and a blackface, I would say, for this particular company with Benjamin Dixon. And so, you know, we had to do our own spin-off show from what they had, because they had us just covering Donald Trump stuff, but they owned my likeliness here. So I didn't know anything about monetization in the YouTube space. I had videos going 2 million. I had all that on these people's space. So when it came time for me to figure out, you know, because they was paying me pennies. Like, you guys, come on, look at me. I mean, I'm good work, okay? I give them. and so they was giving me pennies. And when I found that out, they deleted everything that was associated with them. I had a Facebook page. I was like at 30,000 at the time. That was huge. I used to get millions of views there. I used to get millions of views on YouTube, that kind of stuff. And I didn't even know that they were making money off of me at the time. And so all of that work, I just decided I'm not making a YouTube page. The only YouTube page that I had was the one that I made in college for my my end of my graduate project. And that was it. That was my only YouTube page. It was my friends and family, and then it was this girl here, Olay, who kept pushing me like, do it on your own, girl. Do it on your own, girl. And I'm like, I just don't.
Raul and Rebecca, if y'all knew how often I'd be on Rebecca's ass, like,
because I was ready to quit. I was like, I don't want to do this. They took away. I worked hard, and all people do is take from me. They just take from me, and that's how I was. And then she was just like, no, just do it. And you know, even right now, I don't get the most views. I've been in a place where I've did, but working from the ground up, it feels so much better to me, because I remember the death threats that came with everything and all that stuff. And I'm not even that person that I was working for those people at the time. The type of content that I want to cover and do, you know, I'm starting from here. I do have an audience. That audience comes from some of them come from the old place that I was at. But where I'm at right now, I'm okay with building up. I know that I know where my gifts are. I know where I want to be. I know where I don't want to be.
I know.
And so I'm okay with building up, but a lot of people are for that viral space and they want to stick to, that hot moment. But are you doing anything? And here I'm just going to go, about the heart about it. Are you doing anything that, feels good for you? Like you wake up in the morning and you're like, yeah, this is good for me. I feel like doing. I don't feel any pressure to do. And that's where I'm at with it.
Joe, I know you don't like Joe Budden's ad, but Joe Budden once said a thing that, like, as a creator, it really resonates and sticks with me. But Joe Budden was like, when he left Everyday Struggle, because he was like, Complex was fucking around with him, not giving what he wants or whatever for this show that he created. And, and he always said, he left and that allowed academics to be able to leverage better and get more out of it. But what he said in that, when people are like, you're just going to leave your show or the most successful thing you did or whatever, it's like, he's like, I'm a creator. Like, I got other IP. I will create other shows. And it's about like being able to have a confidence in knowing that. Like, I've left a lot of different shit. Like, people don't even realize it. By the time they realize I'm in the next era or chapter, like, oh yeah, you used to know me on Law and Crime, and then you used to know me on Rising, and then you used to know Leftovers Mafia. And every time I'm like leaving a different thing, somebody makes they think, oh, that's the best thing that you're gonna do. Like, even when I would be like with Olay and Friends, when I would tell on my community page, like, you actually fucking annoy me, and I'm gonna stop making this show if y'all don't stop getting on my nerves. And they'll be like, oh, this the most successful, or this gets all the views. I'm like, no, it's not. Like, I created a other different show. I'm like, my productions do better, my joints do well. Like, I will create, and I do it all the time. I create different blueprints and entirely different kinds of shows. So I think there's something, what people feel is like stressful, like they don't like the idea of building this thing brick by brick and stuff, I find really comforting. Like, I like the idea that I can feel confident that I know I can do this. Like, I have this skill set, I know I can create this thing and keep creating and make this transferable. So I think that is like, that's something to keep in mind, you know what I mean, as a creator, or at least to hone, you know what I mean?
I do want to say one thing. I'm sorry, my camera went off because it's very hot and everything like that.
2025 is a struggle for you, Zed.
Now
you're green.
I'm green.
Okay.
Jesus. All right. I'm back. All right. I do think, like everything you said, like about like the virality thing. Like, I do want to share, like, I got famous from the fighting game community, and for the longest time, the only stuff that would ever get like any play, even though I'm Muslim and I want to talk about the things that are going on in the world, I would only have to rap about Street Fighter, and that's all I could do. That's all I was allowed. Fucking message. That's all I was allowed to do. And then like years later, I did this thing. I did Freestyle the News for years with 100 views. Like two years with like 100, 200 views. Nothing. Right. And then when finally I got the Philip DeFranco stuff and Freestyle the News went viral, now I couldn't do any Street Fighter content. That's not allowed anymore. So like, you immediately get put in a box. And I think what you're saying, Olay, especially about like being a creator, like, and especially Garrison, what you said was incredibly important. The process is the most important part. If you don't love the process, you're not meant for this, right? A lot of people love having songs, like they love having like, I have a content, I have this video, I made this. They don't like the process of making. You don't like the process of making the thing that you like doing. You don't like doing it. You like the attention and you like the fact that it exists, but you're going to be miserable because most of the time, like 90% of the time, you're making the thing. 10% of the time is like, oh yes, this is nice.
The results, yeah.
Like,
and I think, I'm sorry.
Go for it. I'm so sorry that my green ass was like, had his camera.
You're not green anymore.
No, you're good. You're not green anymore. I think that like in every other type of creative field, people understand that. People that take a minute to roll out albums, they get that. We were talking about Doechii having different eras, right? And artists and singers and rappers and actors having just different eras, or taking a minute for them for a project that they're working on to come out, like be out there. But because this like virality is what people are chasing, I think that's what they think content creation is about, chasing the numbers and chasing the virality, and it not being the process and the why you're doing it, and even understanding the why changing. I've gone through so many different types of like eras and seasons of the type of content that I want and the type of content I'm creating and what is fueling me, and learning how to, I think it's fair to acknowledge that there is an aspect of needing to have the virality, because that is what keeps you kind of relevant. But for me, what's helped is knowing what I'm creating for the virality and what I'm creating for longevity and what I'm creating to be a creator and to be a creative and to have some substance. There, you have to understand the game and locking into certain things where it's like, this is what's viral right now. I need to make a comment on this. Like the inauguration's coming up. People wanting to make plans that day. I'm like, realistically, I'm going to have to lock in to see what happens on that day in case I need to respond to something. But a longer format of like, okay, what does a Trump presidency look like? That's something that might be of more substance that I want to take time on. And that's just like one example of so many different news cycles that happen. But I think when people are like, oh, you just need the numbers and the virality, and that's what they're jumping to, it's like, I see that a lot with like people who have hopped on becoming a creator when TikTok went viral. That's what they think it is, versus the folks that have been creating with YouTube or have been creating on Twitter or have been, to just had some type of getting used to being on a big stage and being viral and getting the death threats and getting the opportunities and feeling the whole spectrum of what it is to actually be a viral content creator and your life changing forever. I don't know about y'all, like I can't go outside and not have nobody notice me. Like it, or recognize, oh, you did this, you did that, you did that. It changes you like forever.
Yeah.
So that's
not necessarily in the good way either. It's very depersonalizing a lot of ways. I love how all of us casually talk about our various death threats.
Let me tell you. Recently, I got recognized at a spa, and if you know anything about a Korean spa, when you go into the pools, you got to be naked. It's a mineral bath. While I'm sitting out there in a mineral bath, titties out. Oh my God, are you? You look so familiar. I was like,
could you not right now? Could you not? Could you pretend I'm just a random naked person that you're talking to out the blue?
Don't
you don't actually know me.
Like,
I want to roll, but I wanted to, what's it called, say something real quick since we're kind of in the space of advice about for YouTube. YouTube is, they want you to hit the exact same spot every time. YouTube does not want variety. It does not want, it does not want you to change positions. It's like, this is it right here. Stay there the whole time. Don't do nothing else. If you do something, it better be the best thing you've ever did compared to the last thing you did, or we will low key murder your channel. Like people's channels have died trying to change. You're laughing. I'm telling you.
No, I know.
And I just realized y'all can hear me. I was like, yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think I get away with a lot, like in that.
Well, no. You know. So what you did, Olay, is what everybody new to YouTube that's coming through from TikTok should do, which is confuse the fuck out of YouTube up front. Do whatever the fuck you want while you're small and while you don't have a large audience, while you're still figuring out what works for you, your workflow, what you're interested in, and what there's an audience for from you. And then you start to massage that in regularly with other things. Yeah. But if you go viral early for a thing, that is that channel's thing. And if you do anything else, you should probably just make another channel.
Yeah.
Real talk. And like, that's just something to understand. If you do skits, they all better be skits. If you do streams, they all better be streams. If you do commentary, it all better be commentary. Cause if those people that came and watched you for commentary do not care about your comedy skits, they don't give a I just put out a sports video this morning, 10 out of 10. I don't know. Every time I put out a sports video, that's gonna be 10 out of 10. I do it anyway, cause I just like, I'm gonna force this situation into fruition. But I know before I always earn that opportunity. So after this, it's going to be a Drake video to make sure the algorithm knows I'm still.
Like every time the algorithm, like you put out a video for yourself and you get the 10 out of 10, the algorithm's like, what did I tell you? What did I tell you? What did I tell you?
Yeah. Stop
Go back to your
playing with
fucking
me.
room.
Do the thing.
Make another Drake.
You know, my second channel is the only channel where it's the inverse for me. Like for me, my main channel is like if I do something that I want to do or a video I create, that's when they're gonna play me or something's gonna be a little, you know, off with my main channel. But with my second channel is if I do what the audience wants that isn't successful, what they asked for. But if I do what I want, like I started my Illuminati Pop like doing more like episodic breakdowns, right? And the audience like, oh, they really like that. And I was doing that on the House of the Dragon, and then I did it with Interview with a Vampire and like The Boys. And that's what the audience keep asking for, and that's what they like, and that's what they want. And these things are barely making 10,000 or whatever. And when I said, you know what, fuck them, I'm gonna make what like I'm gonna make on whatever different. I'm gonna put this out now every Wednesday. I'm gonna do a show, like make it more like a video essay style, like these short ones, you know, bigger ones or whatever, on whatever random thing. Those do way better. Like the algorithm, you know, flocks to it. So I think I think y'all are absolutely right, and it also depends. But I'll, you know, if after you leaving, we can all go.
Well, yeah, I got to run. What's the set? Am I uploaded, Aaron? Because I need to. My wife is literally walking out the door. She just messaged me. I'm going outside.